According to the BBC, this is the 8th continent of the world. Yet New Caledonia is hated by many vloggers, even though it's an island paradise filled with stunning beaches. Our trip got off to a bad start because before we even left, I dropped my coffee on my wife on the plane. New Caledonia is France's Australia, where they copied the English and set up a prison colony in an island far away. This place is so dark. Whoa, that looks so cool. Imagine how creepy it would have been back in the day, coming here, blah, 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 in French. According to this information, they didn't want to admit what happened, but then eventually they came to terms with the fact they had to. At least the prisoners had a good view, I guess. Get the sun, don't have to deal with France. There's a lot of benefits out here. One of the members of the penal colony must have left their shoe behind. We had lunch at that nice, expensive restaurant on the bay. And then we come into this prison museum, find out that that's where France just dumped all their prisoners back in the day. And the reason it's called 1881 is because that's when they dumped all their prisoners there. There are a lack of footpaths here, and as someone who likes to walk around to explore, that does make it difficult. Once we get up here, we're fine. But I'd be walking fast along here. But after all that negativity, walking around did actually lead us to one of the most positive experiences I've ever had while traveling. You see, a person saw that we were lost and they approached us and offered to drive us around and became our tour guide for free. They wouldn't accept any money and they were even reluctant to let us buy them food. We are fucked. Which got really awkward because once we finally convinced them to let us pay, the zip on my pants pockets got jammed and it took us a couple of minutes to get access to my wallet. As it did again here, and we couldn't get to the hotel key, and it kind of looks awkward as if we're doing something odd in the hallways. The key is in my wallet, which is in that pocket, and we cannot open it.
Just rip it.
I would if I knew how.
Let me try again.
Okay, one thing's for certain, I'm binning these pants when we get back. She finally figured out how to open it. Hallelujah. We also had this problem trying to pay earlier, and I didn't realize that it was still broken, and I thought it just got stuck on something in my pants, but turns out the pants are broken. So there you go. It's also very awkward when you tell someone you're gonna pay for dinner and then you can't open your pocket to get to your wallet. Getting followed by a dog. We found a dog, or you could say a dog found us and kept following. It's following us though, like it's the fact. This thing will not stop following you. And when we thought it left us, it came back. The dog's back. It will not leave us alone. One thing that does stand out is that it's a very expensive place. Expect to pay up to $10 for a basic coffee. The capital isn't that big, and so restaurants are really only open for 2 hours at lunch and dinner. Sunday nights are very quiet, and McDonald's is one of the few options to eat. And the McDonald's was just a McDonald's. The country used to have cruise ships stopping by regularly, but due to the pandemic, that all slowed down. The native people were some of the friendliest people I've ever met. We had several go out of their way to just check if we needed help or directions, or if we found where we were going. For example, someone heard my wife ask me which way we were going, and they stopped and asked us if we needed help. New Caledonia was heavily affected by the pandemic and is still coming back. A lot of the tour companies closed, and it was a struggle to even hire a tour guide, and we had to find one who would semi-stop doing it, but was happy to do it on his day off. We were attending a coconut festival in the local tribal area. As we approached the tribal area, it started to look a lot different, but as we got closer, it was a lot more like a fancy seaside town.
So that's the seaside, eh? So that's the youth, eh?
So that's where the chief lives.
Yeah.
And what's this one? This is...
That's for the gathering.
After the gathering.
The gathering.
Okay.
The meeting with all the families.
And they're right on the ocean.
On the rules?
So they police themselves.
Yeah, they police themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they always go to the chief if there's an issue.
Chief, there's an issue, conflicts,
Yeah.
like an example with the land on the sea.
Yeah.
The sea on the here on the tribes.
The tribes were a lot more developed and westernized than I had expected. I even saw an Audi and BMW at some of the houses, which was quite a shock, and perhaps it's my ignorance, but when I hear tribes, I'm not expecting them to drive better cars than me, but congrats to them.
Yeah, inside too.
Coconut and cassava. There's a lot of tension between the native New Caledonians and the French government. We stopped to look at an old ocean mining thing that Japan had built before World War II. So creepy to think that Japan put this here so that they could build weapons, which they then ended up using to fight the war, and were fighting on the other side of the war back in World War II. Oh, wow. But as we came back to the car, we found people who'd been diving here and their car was broken into. Someone broke in. Oh, wow.
Because they went scuba diving. How many hours?
2 hours and someone did that. Wow. Oh, wow. You might be surprised to know that the tribal people actually make their money from Tesla cars. So this is where they mine the Tesla.
Yeah, that's the one here.
And what do they mine there?
The chrome and cobalt,
Chrome and cobalt,
Chrome and cobalt.
which they use for the batteries.
For the batteries,
So most of the tribal people work here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them, they sleep here. There's accommodations.
Oh, wow. The air near the mine is unbearable. We only drove past for a few minutes, and for days I could still feel something in my throat, and you could see different clouds in the sky. You can really smell it in the air too. Yeah.
It's like you smoke, eh?
Yeah.
Burning your, you know.
So why is it like a military zone? What they don't want people going in?
No,
or-
because just 2 years after, before the COVID,
Yeah.
there was a big conflict there. They want to close this because of
Ah.
pollution. There's a 5 months.
Yeah.
There was a big conflict, and you know,
People
with,
protesting? Or-
yeah, they break all the things inside, eh?
Oh, really? Whoa. That's okay, it's fine. No. Yeah.
It says rodeo.
I understand, yeah.
You do rodeo.
With heavy trucks driving on the roads regularly, the roads are full of potholes, and so you have to drive in a zigzag to avoid the holes.
En fait, on s'est garé par là-bas, mais enfin pas loin de la transversale.
Ah,
And did they get lost or?
they get lost because, you know, they say they use the GPS,
Yeah.
but the problem with the GPS, it's not update. And they get lost because they saw many roads,
Yeah.
and then they didn't know which one is the good. She was working before for the tourism organization, and didn't recognize her.
And with the COVID, I lost the job.
Oh.
Le numéro pour les navettes, moi j'attends.
Harbour.
Hi, thank you.
Harbour.
Allez, ben bon courage, à la prochaine.
Have you heard of the idea of Zealandia, the 8th continent?
New Caledonia and New Zealand was part of Australia.
Yeah, okay,
They split during the Gondwana.
Yeah.
1,000 years ago, many years ago, Gondwana. And we split from Queensland.
Yeah.
That's why you find a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Australia's here. Landscape, nature, very similar.
The waves are so nice here. Do you believe in Zealandia? Let me know in the comments. And if you made it this far, you'll enjoy one of these videos too.